Coming at you at the speed of sound, it's another Two Joes podcast. On the line today, I have Mojo and Big T.
Special guest, Big T, has joined us. We had some questions for him. We have questions for everybody. I'd like to see how everybody's holding up through this pandemic.
Absolutely.
And how it's going to, I thought about asking the mailman today, hey, man, can you be available at 5:30 tonight? I got some questions for you. So, let's get started. Big T, of course, is a friend of both of us, and he's been to a number of our jam sessions, but he's really a lifelong friend of mine since middle school. And, we've had lots of adventures, lots of great times, and he has, I'm sure, some unique perspectives on the COVID-19 and how it's affecting, not just America, but his life, his industry, his community. So let's get started there. Then we'll start with the basics. Big T, have you been tested or felt any symptoms at all?
I have not been tested, and I've been lucky to not feel any symptoms.
Okay, excellent. But you did say that a number of your staff have been laid off. And, first, were any of them feeling symptomatic or have been tested, or was the layoff just due to a downturn?
The layoff, since when Vail Resorts and Deer Valley decided to shut down the resorts, it caused Jan's laid off 90% of their staff.
Oh, wow. Okay. Gotcha.
So we had to cover. We had 14 layoffs in our warehouse out of a staff of 19 or 20, I think. And two of my employees were tested and were feeling pretty sick. And actually, I have not heard the results yet, but I don't think I think if they would have tested positive, we would have heard by now.
Okay. Yeah, gotcha. And when I spoke with you earlier today, you said that right now you're just as busy as can be. And I thought, well, that's cool. There's an industry not affected, but now I understand why you're so damn busy. You're going on about 1/4 of the staff that you had before,
Yep. The online order volume is really good right now, but there's just nothing else. A big part of what the warehouse does is transfer new product to the stores, but the stores are shut down. So all we're doing is e-commerce fulfillment right now.
Okay. And that's your position is fulfillment manager, I guess. Is that the right title? Okay.
Yep, that's my title.
All right. Manjo, I hate to dominate too much. Do you have any questions from Big T, or should I continue on?
Please continue.
So Big T lives and works in Park City, which has, I'm pleased to say, it has a reputation entirely separate from the state of Utah. In fact, I've often heard Park City that they should change their motto to "We are in Utah, but not of it," type of thing. And you live in one of the most desirable places, not just in Utah, but the Western United States. It's a thriving place. We get the Sundance Film Festival is there every year, which just makes that place a madhouse. And your place of business is close to Park City, I believe, in a place called Camas. So a short drive. But
yep,
you live in Park City proper, don't you?
Yes.
Okay.
I live 2 blocks away from the resort.
Yeah. And so, I pretty much already know the answer to this one, but I'm assuming, Park City this time of year would be just a bustling crowd of skiers and tourists and commerce. And is it just as big a ghost town as every place else is?
Yeah, total ghost town. It's pretty eerie. Driving's a pleasure because you get everywhere in half the time.
Yeah.
There's no cars on the road.
Yeah, very true. Yeah. And I guess Main Street is just abandoned, and everything's shut down, all the art galleries and the restaurants and everything.
Yep. There's nothing. I don't believe there's anything open on Main Street right now.
Yeah, gotcha. So, if we could get a little bit more personal with you, Big T. Knowing you as well as I do, I know that you have some I don't want to call them recurring, but more of a constant health challenges. I know that as many times as we've been together and partied up a little bit, you've let me know that your lungs don't handle smoke well at all. You don't like to smoke anything, cigarettes, cannabis, anything. And so that would seem to make you even more leery and take even more precautions, because I could see it where this COVID-19 could really mess somebody like you up. And so, go ahead.
I was going to say, I'm paranoid as hell about getting this. I'm not the type of person to wear a mask or, I've always gone about my life and done what I'm going to do, but I'm afraid of this. I don't want to be one of the 2% that doesn't make it through this.
Yeah, exactly right. Another friend of ours that we went to middle school with, I won't say his name, but we don't have a Joe name for him, but he had two coworkers, or I should say two family members of coworkers pass away, and they were just 53 and 59 years old each. And so that puts all of us right in that demographic, that you might say high, and plus if you've got some breathing issues on top of that, then, this would be the extra unsettling, if you will. So what sort of precautions then are you taking around your workplace? And you work pretty much in a warehouse. You're not like in a cubicle or something, are you?
Right. There's a warehouse. There's only 4 of us there, and we've all had many discussions. Everybody is super vigilant about keeping their social circle super small, just their family. Mm-hmm. And if anyone feels the slightest sniffle, it's like they're done. They're not coming to work.
Yeah, I gotcha.
Everybody's, I'm not a hand washer. I never have been. I've been washing my hands 5 or 6 times a day. My skin is so dry, it's cracking.
Yeah. I've actually read about there's a danger in that too, that when your hands get too dry and crack, that opens up little microscopic pores for the virus to hide in. So you want to use lotion and seal those cracks up.
And so I feel like I'll feel stupid doing it, because I don't care. I'm going to start wearing a mask when I go out in public.
I went and found a scarf in one of my closets, and I've been just wrapping my head in that, So, and thing is, everybody's doing it. And, whenever I would fly and go to a big airport like Atlanta or something like that, I would see like at least half of the Asian people were doing it years ago when there wasn't a pandemic. It's just,
right.
It's a smarter thing to do. It's kind of like taking your shoes off when you enter somebody's home, because your shoes are filthy. You go to a gas station restroom or something like that, and you're tracking that stuff into somebody's carpet. So that it's just smart. It's a better way to go. But
I think we're going to see this as a lifestyle change for years to come. People wearing masks.
I think you're right. Yeah. Maybe if not years, at least through the rest of this year, for sure.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And even through the summer on hot days, people will be wearing masks. And then next fall, when the cool weather hits again, they're saying that this thing could start right back up. And so, I think we're going to be seeing masks at least for the next, 8-10 months at least.
Yep, I think you're right.
So now what's an average work day like in your warehouse? Are you constantly getting shipments of products in that you have to move, or are you strictly online? You just say, okay, this needs to be shipped from Pittsburgh to Des Moines or something. How does that go?
I'm shipping outbound. Everything I'm shipping in my warehouse, or we're getting from one of our stores, and we're shipping out to a customer. And,
okay.
We've been, for 4 people, we're shipping 250 to 300 items a day right now. So you get the order online, you go and grab the product, grab the item, select the right destination, and then send it on its way. So then, we do know that this virus can survive on surfaces for, I've heard varying reports there, from 3 days up to 10 or 12 days. It can survive on certain surfaces.
It depends on the surface.
Yeah, I'm sure of that.
I was told cardboard is 4 days, but surface, the virus loses about 50% of its strength each day it's on.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So it gets weaker as you go. But yeah, you know, when we've been getting returns back, we've been sanitizing the carport. We've been trying to clean it.
Yeah. So what are you using there? Clorox wipes, or do you have a spray or Lysol spray or something?
We have a sanitizing spray.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So, that's interesting what you just said there, too. And, Main Joe and I have talked about this virus for, 3 weeks now. And that's something I hadn't even thought of is, the strength of the virus when it enters somebody's body. If it's almost dead, then your body's immune system, even fairly compromised immune systems, can probably handle it. But if you get a robust, healthy virus entering you, then you might be in some serious trouble. So I didn't even think about that or think about researching that. And, that's interesting.
It is. That thought's crossed my mind, too. When you see these young people, getting drugged down by this virus, it seems like the first doctor, he was 34 years old. He's in that hospital. I mean, he must have come up against some pretty strong, healthy viruses. You know what I mean? That's my guess anyway. But yeah, interesting question.
Well, it makes me wonder what the strength of the virus that attacked my niece, Kojo. Because she hasn't had any breathing problems. She's had slight fever and body aches and pains and stuff. But, I think I remember her saying that she feels good enough to go to work and go to school. It didn't knock her down. So I wonder if she just got kind of a weaker strain that her body needed a few days to fight off, but she was never going to be in mortal danger. I wonder if that's the right way to look at it.
Yeah,
I have no idea.
I don't either.
Well, they say 80% of the people who get it, that's their experience. It's like a light flu, the body aches and pain, the cough, light fever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So then I know also, Big T, that you like to get out and do a lot of mountain biking with your brother. Have you guys curtailed that also, or are you still getting out and about?
Well, his wife would kick his ass if he left the house right now.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. They just had a little baby boy. That's right. So what about yourself, Troy?
I've been out once or twice. We're trying to figure out a way to pull it off. And do you think he's going to have to bring the wife and baby up to the condo for a day or two to get out for a bike ride? I'm like, we'll do it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, yeah.
Is not allowing, I don't say it's not allowing is the right word. It's discouraging people from coming up here because they don't want non-residents bringing the virus up to them.
Yeah. And it is, I think aside from the Zions National Park, it is like the tourist place in Utah. It gets, in terms of numbers, every year.
Per capita, Park City is in pretty bad shape. They've got a lot of cases because of all the travelers.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Do you have any numbers? Do you have any numbers you can share with us?
The last number I heard is there was 194 cases in Summit County. And I want to say at the time, this might have been 3 or 4 days ago, it was pretty close to what Salt Lake was.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
And Park City has a 10th or 20th the population that Salt Lake has.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And then I remember the most sobering and alarming factor there is, okay, let's say you have 190 cases in all of Summit County where Park City is, then that's not counting the people who have no symptoms whatsoever and don't know they're infected and don't go get tested because, and the people who just think they have a mild cold, like my niece or something. So whatever the number is, multiply it between 5 and 10 to get somewhere near an accurate figure of how many people really have it.
What I've been reading is the number of 10. If you want to figure out what is really going on, it's probably 10 times the reported case.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, that is the thing I think that upset me the most, annoyed me the most about these spring breakers down in Florida that were interviewed. Oh, I'm young, I'm healthy, and I don't feel anything. And even if I do, I'll recover, so I'm not worried. That is just such a... Again, we covered this topic too, Main Joe, is this is one of the first pandemics where you're not really that afraid of going out and catching it and dying. You're afraid of giving it to somebody who will die. And, that's it's kind of turning this whole virus thing on its head. I'm staying home for everybody else, you know.
Me too. I go to work and I come home. I go down to Salt Lake and see my mom. That's it. I haven't been socializing. I haven't been doing much. I fear that I'm possibly asymptomatic and I could be a carrier.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. The best advice is to convince yourself that you do have it and behave accordingly. You know.
Yep.
So, all right then. I can't think of any other questions, but let's see. Park City and your general health, and then if you don't mind me raising this one too. You know, I'm sure you've done your research also, probably more than me. Is you also have another underlying condition of MS, multiple sclerosis. Have you researched any ties between that? With if you were unlucky enough to contract the COVID-19, would MS exacerbate or would it be neutral? MS wouldn't do anything to make it worse.
Well, kind of an interesting little twist on that. I've recently changed my MS medication, and I had an infusion last week that makes me highly susceptible to respiratory infection.
Oh, jeez.
For 3 weeks.
Wow, really?
Yep.
You just switched to this medication recently.
April 1st, I had this infusion.
Wow.
And it's a great medicine because it's like I have the infusion once every 6 months, and that's it. I don't have to take any daily or weekly shots or anything.
Mm-hmm.
But for 3 weeks, I got to be fucking careful.
Man,
I was susceptible. And
dude, you go ahead. I'm sorry. No, you have more to say. When
I pulled up to the infusion center, there was a COVID drive-up testing in the parking lot. And I'm like, you're fucking kidding me. I got to walk outside into this.
Well, yeah, good point. Yeah, I wondered how they handled that. You know, Main Joe, that was something we forgot to ask Kojo. Or she might have answered it, but not in really deep ways. Like when she went to get tested, she said that these healthcare professionals approached her car. Mm-hmm. She got tested in her car. Mm-hmm. And there weren't all the protective gear, the gloves, the masks, all that kind of stuff. But what about somebody they just tested 10 minutes ago who might have had it? It seems they could have, well, of course, they're healthcare professionals, so they would know what to do, change their gloves or wipe something down or do this or that. You cannot eliminate the possibility, but you can certainly minimize it.
Yeah, that's a good point.
You know? Yeah. So, Big T, I would, you know, with this, with your lungs as they are already, and plus with your new MS treatments, making you more susceptible to respiratory issues, you better buy yourself a damn welder's mask or something, dude.
Honestly, this is kind of funny. My mom is a sewing junkie, and she's sewing me a mask. She's making me a mask.
Okay, very cool. Yeah. So, you know, I'm sure they're better than nothing, but I've also heard that, you know, we've had different metaphors for it, Main Joe and I, but, you know, wearing a mask, like a bandana or a bath towel or something like that, that's actually worthless when it comes to protecting yourself against these viruses, because the viruses are so small that you can kind of equate it like shooting a BB gun at a tennis net. And Main Joe heard another one where it's like, you know, you take your average football player, he can fit through a doorway, no problem. The benefit comes when you get 3 football players trying to go through the same doorway at once. Then you could possibly get some protection, you know. So, I don't know, maybe if you fire 1,000 BBs at a tennis net, it'll stop them.
I agree completely. I'll give my mom a little credit. She's done research, and she's like, there's a certain threat count that you want on a mask to minimize what's in the So she's trying to go a little above and beyond hooking some rubber bands to a piece of cloth.
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah. And, you know, I wonder how it would be to make sure that it's wetted down. Like take a spray bottle of distilled water and keep your mask wet. I wonder if that would increase or decrease or have no effect on efficiency.
Well, I've also heard that you basically have to wash it every single day or change it every single day.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm sure of that. Yeah. Absolutely. So let's see what else is up then.
Well, how's your niece doing? She's just fine, no big deal.
Oh yeah, doing very well. There's a number of factors at play there, and we just discovered another one tonight. Is at first she's young and healthy and has no chronic issues whatsoever. She's as healthy as people come, and she's early 20s and active and takes care of herself. She's not a big partier and hurts her own immune system by constant partying, like we've heard can happen. Of course, we would know nothing about that.
Like we've done ourselves constantly
for 35 years now.
Yep.
Then, add on that, she might have been infected with a virus that was near death itself anyway, a much weaker one that didn't have much of a chance of really colonizing inside of her before her immune system could attack it. So all these factors and probably a couple more that I'm too ignorant to know about, she's doing just fine. And we're in talking with her the past couple of days. She was diagnosed a week ago today. So that's when her test result came back. And so she was tested 3 days before that, and she was feeling symptoms a couple of days before she got tested. So she's past the incubation period now. And the two things I've learned to be considered recovered from COVID-19 infection is, number one, you have to go 3 straight days without any fever whatsoever. And that means not taking any kind of medication to reduce or alleviate fevers either. So 3 days, no fever without medication. And then you have to get tested twice, at least 24 hours apart, and both of those tests have to be negative. And so once that's accomplished, you are considered recovered. And then, Joe, we talked about this one also, and I did some research today trying to find out if every single person who recovers is now immune against it. They can no longer be infected, and they can't spread. And I found, again, conflicting reports on that. Some say, yes, it's most likely. Some say, we're not sure that that's the case. So that one's still kind of up in the air. And that one kind of seems to me a game changer. Mm-hmm. If we could get if they could come out and say with absolute certainty that you are immune and you cannot spread it, then we can start trickling the economy and the commerce back up. We can start opening businesses back up. And Kojo would be safe to go out there and resume all her duties and her schooling and all that kind of stuff. And she could go hang out with Big T, and Big T would be in no danger.
Oh, I look forward to that day.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, you haven't been to a jam in like 3 months, have you? 3 or 4 months.
I haven't done shit in about 6 weeks.
Yeah. But again, no symptoms whatsoever, and that's the big one there. That's cool.
So far, so good. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't long ago. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I think the most dangerous thing I do is go to the grocery store.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. I go to the 7-Eleven for my Diet Coke and go to the grocery store for my sustenance, and that's it. That's it. Well, that's not exactly true. I did go up to Solitude Ski Resort last weekend. I'm looking to buy a condo up there, and it also was a ghost town. Just nobody there. And I walked in the lobby area where you check in and check out and everything, and there was a young lady behind the counter. And I thought, well, what are you doing here? Things are shut down. The ski resorts, the lifts aren't even operating. Why are you here? She goes, well, we have a lot of owners who live here year round. And so if something goes wrong, they need a bar of soap or a towel. Somebody's got to be down here to take care of them. All right, I guess I can see that. But, it seems they could get their own soap.
Well, I think they treat it like it's a hotel, and hotels are open too, I imagine. They have guests. I mean, the planes are still flying. They're practically empty, but they're still flying, so people are still traveling, which kind of boggles my mind in a sense. But,
Yeah, that is kind of boggling. There might be 4 people on a flight that they must have very important business to have a 737 spend $80,000 worth of fuel to get them to someplace, and I don't know. It seems like they could charter little twin props or take a Greyhound or something.
Or take a break and do it online. I mean, they said if we could just hunker down for 2 solid weeks, everyone just hunker down for 2 weeks, we could really flatten the curve and really put a dent in this thing. But it's we're not able to do it, you know.
Well, yeah, we always want to talk if there's any glimmers. I think I heard a glimmer out of Governor Cuomo today of New York. Did you guys see any of those headlines or watch any of those YouTube clips today?
No.
Well, didn't I hear that New York kind of dropped off a little bit, so they're looking like coming down?
Yes. He said the data are showing that, but it's way too early to tell because, 3 days from now, they could be skyrocketing again. So he was pretty much the opposite of what Trump's doing. Cuomo was very sober in his analysis and saying, we are not through this. Don't start, clamoring.
Way too early to get excited, yeah. I did see a little bit of news on they've got like 8 different vaccines in the works. They haven't figured out which ones are going to go and which ones aren't, and how they couldn't really say how viable the possible vaccines are, but they have 8 of them in the works, and they're going to possibly introduce more. So I guess the glimmer of hope there is they're working on it, and they've got some possibilities here.
But I also read a headline. I didn't read the article, but it was scientists near to finding out how this was created. Whether it was a bat or a king cobra or a pangolin or something like that. And I think
a Chinese scientist.
I'm sorry. Say again, BT.
A Chinese scientist.
I don't know. It just said scientist.
That was a bad joke. Sorry, that's a bad joke.
Oh. Okay, Trump. Yeah, it's a Chinese virus. We can't trust those Chinese scientists. But so what I'm wondering now is if they are to conclusively determine what animal this came from, does that give them a big leg up on figuring out how to battle this thing? I don't know. I guess I would guess it does. Because a bat has a different physiology than a pangolin, and they could at least eliminate certain things.
I think so.
But yeah. So yeah, but the glimmer of hope then is, I think it's now been 48 hours where the average daily death count has decreased 2 straight days. Not dramatically by any means. There's still somebody in New York dying of this virus every 4 minutes or 6 minutes or something like that.
Wow.
But it has, the great news is it has not continued to skyrocket, from 50 to 300 cases a day.
That is good news. I mean, because they said this would be the big week. They were saying this is the week that it's really going to peak, maybe.
Yeah. And let's hope.
Yeah.
Well, let's see. We're Tuesday. Tomorrow will be the middle of the week.
Yeah.
Middle of the week, and if they were saying, prepare for what do they call it, the Pearl Harbor moment?
Yep.
Or so it seems maybe we would have heard about it by now. And the thing is that there are still places in America, and I'm sure around the world, that are still climbing, still going in the wrong direction, like Louisiana, New Orleans. I'm not sure. Well, that's the big one that sticks out. And that one is all due to Mardi Gras too, mainly. You get 1.3 million. But so there are still some places that are going the wrong direction. But I think the vast majority of us have some common sense. Unlike these pastors and evangelists who insist upon packing their churches on Sundays, that just drives me bananas. And it's not just because I'm in it. Go ahead, BT.
I was going to say, or the Mormon church welcoming the missionaries home at the airport.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's another one. And by the way, how did the Mormons just have their general conference, their twice-a-year conference last weekend? Was that all online? Or did they, I don't know, did they go to the conference center downtown or the temple or anything? Or was it all remote? I didn't hear anything about that.
Me neither. I hope it was remote because that'd be stupid.
Oh, yeah, it would. Absolutely. They get a bunch of asymptomatic people going there and sitting next to Grandma Ellie,
Yep.
But, the clip that drove me nuts was, and this is one of the main reasons I'm such an anti-religion person, was this camera crew was going up and interviewing people as they were leaving this congregation in, I don't know, Alabama or Mississippi, someplace. And this lady rolled down her window, and I don't know, she was probably in her 50s or 60s. And they said, well, aren't you worried that you're going to get infected? Well, no, I'm not worried because I've got the blood of Christ protecting me. Well, then, okay, but what if you go infect somebody else? I mean, you go to the grocery store, don't you? Oh, yeah, I go to the grocery store. I go to Walmart all the time. But, they could infect me, but they won't because I've got the blood of Christ protecting me. So when you're dealing with ignorance like that, then that's kind of the bad stuff you have to accept in a pandemic like this. It's not everybody's. Go ahead, Major.
It puts us in a predicament, man. Yeah, I mean, that's one of the reasons why we can't flatten that curve. I heard that just recently, even though Louisiana is hurting, that was one of the states where they were having congregations still getting together for church services. And it's like, what the heck?
Yeah.
And another thing that's bothering me is this whole, I don't know if you've heard the headlines about this, but Wisconsin and their primaries today, they were basically forcing people to go vote today because they wouldn't allow them to postpone the vote or do it by mail, give them some more time so they can prep it and do it by mail. And that came from like judges, and the Supreme Court even weighed in on it. And it's like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Yeah, these elections are all have an asterisk by them as far as I'm concerned, because it's just not right. You can't expect people to go out and vote when their health is on the line like that. Then you get orders from over half the governors in the United States saying, stay in place, stay at home, self-isolate. But go vote in this stupid primary. It's like, come on, man. And so what's going to happen in November? I mean, that's a ways off, but we got to start talking about it now and making plans now, because we can't allow this to happen, that we're not ready to do it voter by mail or, things like that, and expect people to go in. Talk about another surge that could happen. Yeah.
Well, if the Democrats are smart, they're going to, in the next week or two, they're going to start announcing to America that we are putting together plans where you can vote from home, and it'll be safe and secure. We're going to make sure you can't vote more than once. You can't vote in 2 precincts, all that kind of stuff. And then, of course, you're going to get a lot of pushback. Well, you can't do that. That'd open wide open for fraud. And then they only need to say one thing. If you can file your taxes online, you can vote online. What do you go to that? I think it's true. I really do. Yeah. Yep. And the census, I got my census notification 2 weeks ago. I sat down and it took me all of about 3 minutes to get online, take care of it. I watered up and threw it in the fireplace. So if we can do census and taxes and pay parking tickets online, there is no reason that we can't cast a vote online. And by the way, did you guys hear that another one of Trump's million snafus when he said something along the lines of, well, if we open up all these ways for people to vote, Republicans will never win another election. That is paraphrasing.
Did he really say that? Wow.
Not exactly like that, but I watched it 2 or 3 times, and it was pretty unmistakable what he was saying. No, people got to show up and wait in line to vote, or Republicans will never win another election.
Yeah, our government, and here's that quote I was talking about. So we're in the middle of a pandemic, and the U.S. Supreme Court ruled against an attempt by Wisconsin Democrats to extend the deadline for absentee voting. So they wanted to extend the absentee voting deadline so people could vote by mail or make other arrangements to vote, and U.S. Supreme Court said no. It's like during a pandemic, it's just nuts.
Well, and who else came out against it was the Republicans. They, I don't know how much of this is fake news versus real, but it does always seem that it's the Republicans who are trying to put more barriers in place to vote.
Absolutely.
Now, of course, they'll say, we're just trying to protect the integrity of the election process.
That's what they'll say.
I don't think that's what they say it is. And even Shy Joe has said that before. Well, why shouldn't you have an ID to vote? And my answer to that is, well, we haven't needed one for 220 years.
That's the thing. Show me the need. Show me the data. Show me the 3 million people that Trump claims voted illegally in the election. You know, they have nothing.
Yeah,
they can never generate any evidence. They just they spew garbage and people buy it.
Mm-hmm. And then the media drops the ball, and they'll call these lies controversies, or they'll say an issue. They won't come right out and say it's just a bald-faced lie is what they're doing.
Yeah.
You know, it's worth further discussion, and maybe there was 3 million people. We got to give them time to get us the evidence. It's just a Republican shite show, and that's what we're living under right now.
To get back I want to get back to the workers a bit, if I could, just kind of shift to pivot back to Big T and the warehouse that he works at. You were saying that a lot of people got laid off, so that basically means they've lost their health insurance. A lot of them, is that correct?
Well, is paying for all the employees' health insurance, and they intend on bringing everybody back once things get back to normal.
That's awesome.
So,
okay, good.
No employee lost their health benefits. They'll resort to done something similar. They had 10,000 layoffs in Park City in the last 45 days.
Interesting.
10,000 in a population of about, 45,000 total people there?
Yep.
Wow. I wonder what the percentage of those have lost their insurance.
Yeah.
I'm sure some have.
And
some of the big resorts and the bigger employers are taking care of their people.
I hope so.
That's good.
That's good to hear. Yeah, absolutely. Because I know once you lose your health insurance, there are ways you can buy health insurance. I think it's called Cobra or something like that, but it's crazy expensive. So even if you do have that option, can you afford that option? That's the other thing. So that was going to be my next question: is if these warehouse workers lost their health insurance, could they afford to do Cobra or to find other health insurance?
I believe if I had to pay Cobra for my plan, it would be $600 or $700 a month. So that would be pretty tough to pay for on unemployment.
Yeah.
But if that extra $600 a week kicks in, like I've read it will, I have no idea if it is, that would help people out tremendously.
Indeed. Yeah. So I'm wondering about that now also, Big T. It was the $2.2 trillion that's supposed to hit our economy, I don't know, in the next week or two. Well, you wouldn't know this, I'm sure. You're not up in the boardroom. You're actually out there doing the real work. I wonder how much a company like might benefit. Are they going to get a one-off check for $2 million to get them through this, or $10 million, or are they going to get anything?
They're in the process of applying for relief loans to the government right now. I do know that.
No, you say relief loans.
Yes.
Loans. Okay.
Well,
zero interest loans. And if you use it according to their stipulations, then you basically don't have to pay it back. That's what I understand. Because I'm trying to get the same thing for me, because I'm an independent contractor. I'm self-employed. And so we heard that, it might be worth applying for this because it could help, because I'm basically have no clients at the moment. I'm self-employed, so I have nothing. I have no unemployment, nothing to fall back on. But when we went to apply for these loans, Wells Fargo said, we're not accepting any more loans, blah, blah, blah. We're like, what? They're not even accepting applications anymore. So they're saying, you just need to go to a different bank. Well, but part of the stipulation is you have to be a customer at that bank in order to apply for these loans through that bank. So it's not like we can just go open an account at another bank and apply there. You can't do that. So that's unbelievable. And then the other thing is that all these people on unemployment that are trying to apply for these benefits, the system's crashing. One person was trying for over 2 weeks to get online and apply for unemployment benefits, and no luck. So the system is under strain big time. It's basically failing. So a lot of people aren't going to see any relief, even though they passed this stimulus package.
And the funds that were passed are terribly misallocated. It certainly sounds like. I'd like to do a follow-up cast with Big T in like a week or two and see if some funds did kick in for him personally. I've heard nightmares that already you might get your first check if you're current on your taxes, you filed taxes in 2017 and 2018, and the federal government gave you your refund using a routing number to your bank. Then you'll get your money in a week or two or three. If you don't, then you're going to wait like 3 months to get a check in the mail. These might be fake headlines I saw. I don't know. Did you guys see anything similar to that?
No, but it sounds possible.
I've heard similar stuff, but
yeah.
I haven't filed my 19 taxes, but I'm current on my 17 and 18, and I need to get a refund directly deposited in my bank account. So hopefully, that I'll stuff.
Yeah. You're breaking up a little bit there, Big T, but if you guys can still hear me, let me repeat that. I'd love to have you back in a week or two, or just shoot me a text and let me know if something comes through for you. And I'd love to talk with you about that. And it segues into another related topic, again, back on politics. And this is something Mangel and I have talked about a couple of times in the past week or two, is what was, Bernie Sanders was, of course, out there saying, well, we've got to expand unemployment. And in fact, let's give them that extra $600 a week to make sure they can get through this and they can pay their rent, they can buy their food, utilities don't get shut off, all this kind of stuff. And what do the Republicans come out and say, especially Lindsey Graham? He was the point man on this. Well, if we do that, they're never going to want to go back to work. They'll be making more by just sitting at home. And so essentially it's Republicans saying what they really think about Americans. They're a bunch of lazy, wannabe layabout, wannabe parasites. They want to be leeches. They don't want to work anymore. And what we just heard, me and Joe, from a guy who actually works every day, Big T, he's saying that $600 a week would help out. It would really help me out, And I'm not about to quit my job and stay at home because I'm getting sick, because first that money's going to end at some point. So the point I'm making, isn't it great to see what Republicans really think of Americans, of American workers? That's the point I'm driving at. And I hope the Democrats will use that in the election coming up.
But it's nothing new, and they haven't up to this point. So I don't know. I don't expect it to change anything. I mean, this has always been the case, but people keep voting for them. I don't understand it.
Mm-hmm. I don't get it either. Well, I understand one segment of it, one small aspect of it. And that is, and I've seen it with my friends, and I won't mention names, but do you guys remember just before the 2016 presidential election, and Donald Trump had a picture of him in his office. He was eating a taco bowl on Cinco de Mayo, on the Mexican holiday, May 5th. And he had a big thumbs up, and he's eating his taco bowl, and the caption under it was, "Oh, this is delicious, and I love Hispanics," with an exclamation mark at the end of it. And, then that night, two friends came over on a Thursday. We were going to play some music and have some drinks, have some laughs. It was a Thursday, if I didn't already say that. And my one friend said to the other friend, well, I'll use the name. Shy Joe said to Conga Joe, "Did you see that picture of Trump eating the taco bowl?" And Conga Joe says, "Yeah, I did see that." "Did you see how it just made those libs all upset? It triggered them. God, it was great. I loved it." Mangel, that's how the Republicans get voters. That's one way. That's one way. As long as they stick it to the libs, then they can go ahead and keep destroying the middle class and keep giving tax breaks to billionaires and keep cutting regulations. And, as long as those libs are crying, we're going to keep voting for you. Sounds about right, isn't it, Big T?
It does, and Shy Joe is just a liberal in cheap clothing, really. I mean, he lives like one.
But he really does, yes, in many ways. I've seen that many times. I won't elaborate because that would sound, he's not here to defend himself, number one. And
I told him not to say.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, that's one way to keep him. Well, and then, of course, you have the God, the guns, and the abortion debate. That's another way they keep getting them to vote for them.
Nobody's coming for the gun.
Exactly. Yeah. Obama had 8 years to get your guns, man. So either he wasn't coming for them or he was incompetent in doing so. You know, and they'll say, well, he was just incompetent. He tried to get them. You know, well, name one way.
Well, that's just it. You know, it's amazing. All we want are stronger background checks. How about a background check? Is that going to kill you? But then, but that's just your foot in the door. Next thing you know, you're going to take my gun. They go from A to Z. They take this huge leap just to justify their position, and there's no validity in it at all. You know, it's mind-numbing.
No. We want to know if you're released from the psych ward. You shouldn't buy a gun the next week.
Yeah, exactly. Or you beat your wife every week. Maybe that might be a reason why you shouldn't have a gun, you know?
Yeah. Well, I think if you haven't filed a federal income tax return in 3 years, we might want to not get you a gun either. You know, you might be an anarchist. And, you know, something like there's a lot of things we could do. But any single one of them, they'll say, oh, see, they're coming for our guns. Here's a prime example, gentlemen, and I think this was the main stigma that Obama suffered, was he proposed back in 2014 allocating a small amount of money on a federal scale, like $22 million, something like this, some small amount of money, to sponsor a think tank to simply study mass gun violence in America. Just study it. The school shootings, the nightclub shootings, whatever they are, let's just study it for a bit and find out what we can learn about the facts on the ground and see what that might teach us. Oh, nope. You see, then immediately I don't want to say the word gun nuts because that's a divisive word, but you can say people staunchly. Yeah, I could.
No, I was going to say you can say right wing. I think would be a valid statement because they're. I forget what I was going to go with that now, but yeah, I mean,
agreed. But all he wanted to do was commission a study to see is there something we can do, you know, about this, or at the very least, let's try to learn a little bit more about it. And nope, the right wingers immediately shut even that down.
Because I think it would point back at them and the way they have this language that they use, this siren call, this us against them mentality, and it would point back at them, I think, to a degree. They don't want to be found out. It's like Jordan Klepper was at this Trump rally. He asked this guy, so do you think Trump was guilty of what they accused him of that Ukrainian phone call and setting up that whole thing? And the guy was like, oh, no, everyone's just lying and everything. And I think the Senate did the right thing. And he was like, he said, he went along the lines, if only we had witnesses and we had people that knew and we could find out for sure. And he was like, oh, yeah, that would be great. That would be. Did you remember that clip? It was so funny. Yeah. You know, we could swear them in and they could tell the truth and we could have these things called witnesses. And the guy was like, oh, we don't want that. Because he knew that if they did that, then they would find out stuff they don't want to know. It's like they have these blinders on and they don't want to take them off. They just want to believe what they want to believe. And,
well, and it kind of lends me to want to support the right wingers in a way. Is I work with one at my day job, my computer job, and my former boss. He no longer is, but my former boss was a fair. I think it's fair to say he was a right winger, and he raised a pretty good point. He said, "You know what, Mojo? Most of us gun owners, we're okay with some background checks, and we're okay with some laws keeping them out of the hands of the people that shouldn't have them. But I am dead set against the government demanding to know exactly how many guns I have, or even how many rounds of ammunition I have for those guns."
And guess what?
That is much.
No one is proposing that. No one is proposing that. That's what gets me. It's like they make up all this stuff, and it's like no one's proposing that. We just want background checks. We just want to close some of these loopholes. We want to make sure you can't have a fully automatic, or you can't buy something that makes it fully automatic, and you can't have a 100-round magazine. Simple stuff, doable, would help the situation, but they don't even want to They don't even want to entertain the possibility. But
yeah.
anyway, again,
point.
I think I'd like to pivot one more time because we're coming up on 50 minutes now, and I wanted to get you guys' opinion on one more thing. I've been seeing a lot of stuff in the news about these critical workers, who probably don't even get paid a living wage, and there's lots of talks of strikes. I think there's a lot of strikes actually happening and going on. I was listening to Jimmy Dore, and he says there's a lot of wildcat strikes going on, which means they're pretty much unorganized and they're kind of independent strikes. What do you think about that? Is it something that we should encourage, or is it something that, this isn't the time for that?
Good question.
What do you guys feel?
Big T, you want to take that one first?
Oh, I think we got to support the critical workers. And the lady who picked up my
Oh, you're breaking up. Are you hearing that, Main Joe?
Yeah,
you're breaking.
Hold on. You hear me?
That's better.
That's better. There we go.
I was just saying the USPS lady that comes every day is working her ass off. She's working 14-hour days, and she's at a very high risk of getting sick because she's encountering so many people every day.
Mm-hmm.
I think they probably deserve some hazard pay or some extra compensation for what they're going through.
Well, fair enough. But hazard pay, that would be easy enough to get behind politically. But I think the larger argument is, are we going to start taking them seriously overall? Not just during a pandemic, but now are we going to start saying, okay, yeah, these people are essential. They should be making $12, $15 an hour or something like that at a minimum. But I just don't know. But I don't have an answer for Bernie Sanders and his $15 minimum wage.
Here's a thought. Here's something I learned fairly recently. I think FDR was the one who set up minimum wage, right?
I don't know. Another good question.
I'm pretty sure he
I know
is.
he supported it.
Right.
Yeah.
And his thoughts is that if you can't afford to pay your employee a living wage, then you probably don't have a valid business. Something along those lines. And it's like, that kind of makes sense. I mean, otherwise, what are you doing? You're basically taking advantage. And these people are going to go apply for food stamps and extra help because they need it to make ends meet. So now our taxes are again, corporate socialism, helping you afford that employee, which you really can't afford because you're not paying them a living wage.
Mm-hmm. There's a deeper sickness there too. That the middle class, not only have we been destroyed pretty much, or our destruction has been ongoing ever since Ronald Reagan, but it's gotten so insidious now that we are essentially subsidizing Walmart's and McDonald's and Target and a lot of these
Amazon.
places Amazon, where they're paying their workers barely enough a month just to pay rent. Forget utilities and food and car payments and all that stuff. That they're paying, and so then if they want to get health care, they have to rely on the middle class to pay for it, and Medicaid and food stamps for food and subsidized housing and all this. And I remember seeing a report. Again, I don't know if this was fake or not, but if it was fake, it was very well done. That the Walmart workers, when they would come in for their orientation on their first day on the job, they were shown pamphlets. And, this is what your duties are going to be. This is your shift. This is the proper attire. Now, any of you who don't have health insurance through other means, through marriage or your parents or whatever, flip to the back page. These are the federal agencies you need to call to get signed up for Medicaid, and your insurance is taken care of. That is the middle class taking care of Walmart right there. The company that makes billions of dollars a quarter, and yet it's going right back on the middle class. And that's such an obvious thing to see. We can all see it. Politicians, left and right alike, can all see it. Why can't we get behind changing it? I don't get it.
Yeah, but what Jimmy Dore's point is that now is kind of the time, because these critical workers have the U.S. by the balls, man. If they went on strike and the truck stopped rolling and the people stopped showing up for their grocery store shifts and all that, I mean, they could demand some stuff. They could grind this economy to a halt pretty quickly. And so this is what he's calling for, because, we talked about the spike of, COVID-19, people catching it is going to probably happen this week. But when is it going to happen that people who got laid off can't afford rent and other things? When is that spike going to happen? A lot of people were talking April 1st, but maybe it's a little bit later in the month, or maybe it's going to be next month. But I guess Bernie came out and he tweeted about, let's see what I got here. So Bernie said he supports workers who strike, conduct a sick out, or participate in a walk-off to support our collective health and safety amid this pandemic. He supports rent and mortgage payment. He supports rent and mortgage payment. Moratoriums. I wrote that down wrong. Yeah, he's saying no rent, no mortgage payments, no evictions, no foreclosures nationwide. So that's what he is trying to get done. And Jimmy says that's fine, but you got to make him do it, because he says power gives up nothing. If you don't demand it, if you don't put pressure on them, they're not going to give you shit. That's kind of Jimmy's attitude, and it makes sense to a degree. But I'm thinking, on the other hand, man, if they did bring this economy to a grinding halt, would they get their demands met? Would they get health care, and things like that? What they're demanding, a moratorium on rent and foreclosures and all this, or would it just be, the rich just outweighed them, and they eventually have to go back to work because they got to eat? I mean, they say that there's actually food riots in Sicily right now. I guess I read that a couple weeks ago. But, that could happen here. It's not unheard of, I don't think. People are out of work.
Well, and if the truckers stop trucking, then, a significant portion of them, they would run out of food. Their families would run out of food, and within a week, we couldn't drink our tap water anymore, because the chemicals and the equipment needed to treat our tap water wouldn't be rolling in. A lot of different things. So they're kind of looking out for themselves too by staying on the job. But again, that's how tricky this is. What solution can be compromised, or what compromise can be met to bring about, I won't say a solution, but an agreement at least. Is it $15 an hour? Is it 18? Is it 22? Is it 12? Where is that fine line? And I don't know. I guess the bright spot, Main Joe, Big T, is that this pandemic has brought them very much into focus, very much. And and Big T is involved in an industry like that. I mean, he's mainly shipping ski boots and mountain bikes and things like that, and helmets. But it's still very much the same type of industry. Now, if he stopped doing what he's doing, we wouldn't really feel too big of an impact on that. But no one would live a shit. I was trying to be delicate there, Big T, but you said it succinctly, like you always do. But if beef stops flowing and chicken noodle soup and toilet paper, then man, we're in a big pickle. So I don't know, Main Joe. All I'm doing is leaving us there with a question. I certainly don't have any answers. Yeah,
there's no easy answer there. I'm kind of torn. I don't know who. Jimmy was pretty upset about the whole deal, and I can't get behind him 100% on this. I just don't think it's. Yeah, if not now, when? But man, we're in a pandemic. We've got to kind of come together, I feel like, and get each other through this, And yeah, those guys, I think, deserve hazard pay. I'm with Big T on that. I think I've mentioned it before in a podcast. The hazard pay should be something they should consider.
Yeah, I don't oppose that one bit. When I go down to 7-Eleven, it's the same lady there every morning. And when I walk in, there's nobody else there ever. I think there's been one or two others, rarely in the past few weeks. And she always has rubber gloves, a mask, and a spray bottle of disinfectant and a rag in her hand. So all day long, she is following around. Whenever the last customer left, she goes and finds out where they were and wipes down those areas, the drink station or where the donuts were or the potato chips or whatever. And she's doing that constantly. So, yeah, the word hero, I don't want to, vanilla that word too much, but damn, she's doing her job. She's keeping me safe and herself safe at the same time. So, she probably not during a time that is not a pandemic, she's probably making $10 an hour, 9, 10, 12 maybe at the upper limit, working at a convenience store. Yeah, I could see her making $20 an hour and being worth every penny of it.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, Two Joes, salute to her and doing her job and being on the front line, so to speak. And and
showing up to work
and taking
showing
care
up every day. Yeah. Well, Big T, can't thank you enough for your perspective on things. Such a welcome guest. We hope you'll join us again. Do you think you will?
Absolutely. You guys have inspired me to educate myself on some of these other issues going on now.
Cool.
Oh
cool.
Man, well that's the highest praise we could possibly get. That's about as cool as it gets. So yeah, let's research a few things. Are you going to get immunity once we recover? Well, lots of different issues. Let's all do some research.
Yeah.
And very cool.
All right, guys.
Well, do you mind if I do us a little outro?
Not at all.
Sure.
There's my favorite jam. Thank you again for joining the Two Joes podcast. We were so privileged to have our friend Big T with us tonight as a guest, and he gave us his perspective, and we'd love to have yours. Please let us know, and thank you once again. We'll see you again here on the Two Joes podcast.